All right, so here we go again. Before we begin, once again, the link to all of these characters is in the description of their video. Uh, s- just click the see more, you will get the link, and you can download this character to play for yourself. And next, we have Argus, the Dwarf Master. Argus is a berserker warrior, a MacGuffin smasher, and a wielder of the Forged Fire, a classic dwarven master. Background: Argus was not a stranger to the Shade. His first home was raided by a Valhallan warband. Then he was put into labor in the Forge, making arms for the Valhallan warband, until noticed by other dwarves within the Valhallan warband. He was then essentially adopted for his skill and earned his place in the clan. When shortly thereafter his village was annihilated by a Yaniv-led raid. After the loss of his second home, Argus took up the Shade to avenge his clan and destroy the Yaniv. Now, over his adventures and his many battles, which he has had to obviously prove himself, he's developed a few skills. He is trained in athletics, heavily trained in, highly trained in athletics, bluff, which is strange for a dwarf, endurance, history, insight, perception, and streetwise. He's kind of okay in acrobatics, diplomacy, intimidate, and thievery. He is completely untrained in healing, nature, religion, and stealth because he is a dwarven man. His dominions and attributes. His shade vessel is the forged soul long cannon. We'll get to that in a minute. Using the last dwarvish enchantments in the last embers and bellows of the forge, Argus crafted a long cannon named Forge Soul and forged his pact with the Shade. Argus became an avatar of destruction with the passion and fiery combustion of a dwarven forge. Shade cantrips. Now, again, cantrips are the non spell use of the Shade for a Shade mage, and their expression varies from mage to mage. Argus, for example, is a forge master infused with the fires of the bellows. So when Argus does physical feats, hot gusts of wind can burst from his hands or feet to assist in physical feats. If he's jumping, if he's leaping, if he's um, needing more assistance to push away an enemy, he can summon up a gust of wind from a hot gust of wind from his hands. It won't deal any damage, but it'll get the job done. He has eyes that can glower with furnace heat so they can move on social tests and that sort of thing. And his innate ability to discern heat signatures can assist in insight and perception tests. So anything that can connect Argus to heat in particular, and anything that he could use to project him, to uh, to expound him, he's going to be able to use that kind of flavor in his skill tests to enhance his chances of succeeding. Now, his spells. Combustion, we have the basics. We have lightning bolt and chain lightning. Now, lightning bolt is going to manifest more as like uh, a forge blast, like a smoky filled uh bang from the hammer, if you will. And that's going to deal 3 damage. Chain lightning's a little more risky. Chain lightning does 3 damage to the first target and does 2 more damage to the next target, and then you roll constantly to see if it fails. And it's going to fail under a 4. So if you keep rolling 4s, 5s, and 6s, you'll just keep dealing 2 damage to more and more targets. However, after you're done dealing damage, I believe, and I do believe I'm correct here, because yes, chain lightning, you're going to repeat. that roll until you fail the roll. And after you fail the roll, you're just going to you're going to take 3 damage yourself, which Argus can take 3 damage. It's not he has 2 more toughness left. It doesn't really mean anything to him. Now, after that, we have Forge Elementals. Forge Elementals, one Forge Elemental, for example, is your basic Spark Elemental. It is literally just a lightning bolt that is a creature, that is a minion. And instead of just throwing the lightning bolt, a literal Forge Elemental is going to erupt from the ground or from your outstretched palm and literally charge your foe. So you can fire a Forge Elemental, or you can have a Turret Elemental that just kind of hops next to you, and when you exhaust it, it will fire and deal 1 damage to any target. So you have a turret minion, you have a turret forge elemental, and you have a full on lightning bolt elemental. Then you have Cauterize, which uses the power of the forge to remove. You know how Nocto could give himself immortality? The Forge doesn't like that. It says, no, I'm going to be so hot that I say, to hell with your immortality. I'm going to burn you to death anyway. And that's exactly what that spell does. It removes the immortality and it deals a damage. That's it. As for passion spells, we have his MacGuffin Smasher, the Crush spell, where he's able to destroy any artifact he desires. Just goes whammo on that. And he also has Tactical Misinformation. Tactical Misinformation is a cool little spell where you can pay a destruction and pay X, and all of those targets cannot counterattack. So while you're attacking them and they have the ability to counterattack, that's taken away. They're not going to be able to do that. Also, feint is very useful. So feint simply says that because he is a battle master, because he is a someone who's been in battle all of his life, not just before the Valhallan raid, but after the Valhallan raid. The Valhalla is a realm that is constantly at war. While he was not making war materials, he was in combat himself, and he's mastered this art. So all combats engaged in combat with the target attacker. So he chooses himself, and he casts this feint move on himself. Every single person that tried to engage in combat with him are going to exhaust themselves. They're going to overexert themselves. They're going to overstep because he is that much of a tactician. However, the cost of this is that he's not going to be able to deal any damage to them that turn. All your this spell also prevents all combat damage involved. So Argus attacks, but he casts feint. And because he's casted feint, anything that engages with him automatically becomes exhausted. But Argus is going to be able, but at the cost of exhausting them all, regardless of whether they take any damage, all damage is going to be prevented. That's the trade off with feint. So, now that we've known his spells, let's learn his aspects. What makes Argus Argus? What makes him special? Argus has Heart Seeker. Argus's experience in war allows him to always use his athletic skill for melee weapons and his perception skill for all ranged weapons. That's pretty nifty. His 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 experience in battle allows him to choose his own way of wielding the weapon rather than the style of the weapon dem- de- determining how he wields it, which is how Shades of Dominion combat works. The weapon determines the skills you use to attack and defend against it. Give no quarter. Argus's dwarvish rage grants him extra attacks, more cutting power, and instant recovery in battle. It gives him 3 aspects. It gives him, I believe, Twin Strike, It gives him cleave, and it gives him what is the third one? Oh, rush. And rush is a cool one because normally when you're damaged or wounded in combat in Shades of Dominion, you are exhausted and you must spend half an action to ready yourself the next turn. With rush, you do not. You just spend a free action to ready yourself, and you can do that anytime you want. So you're never caught off guard as long as you have that adrenaline providing rush. He also has burning magic. The more Argus feeds the forge fire, the more ferociously it consumes his enemies. Every time his burning magic kills a foe, he can either roll a spell battery or increase his shade dice modifier. So he can either increase his ability to pull the shade, or he can recharge one of his spells. And it's completely up to him how he wants to manage that combo. The price, however, is the price of being stained with destruction is that you will become an erratic psychopath with an itchy trigger finger and a glass ego to boot. And Argus is no exception. Argus must never allow himself to be defied or ignored. And Argus must always take the most direct course of action available, no matter how dangerous or foolhardy it might be. He is he is a dwarven ball of fury, and you will get out of his way. Now, his artifacts, which a lot of you are going to enjoy this. Considered to be an ancient form of dwarven quote unquote crossbow, this enchanted slender cannon does not need to be reloaded because it is infused with the soul of a dwarven forge, and the damage it deals can cause multiple wounds with each shot. It's a gun, ladies and gentlemen. He forged a gun. There are guns in the Shades of Dominion. Just throwing that out there. Attacking with this weapon is a perception v insight opposed test and deals 1d6 plus 3 damage with cleave. So you're dealing anywhere from 4 to 9 damage with this weapon at all times. Pretty awesome. But there's more. As an added precaution, Argus has forged enchanted arm braces that retain his battle rage and fury, just in case he ever loses touch with his innate powers as a shade mage. Wearing these arm braces grants the wearer rush and twin strike. So even if that character aspect you saw earlier is deactivated somehow, they are still enchanted on these arm bracers. And that gives him the ability to strike twice. And yes, for those of you asking, um, does this combo with the slender cannon? Yes, it does. He can fire twice as long as he's wearing these arm bracers. So he will deal 1d6 plus 3 damage twice per turn. And when you see the keyword cleave in Magic the Gathering, that means trample. And it doesn't mean trample as in um, it deals more damage. It means it's able to go through more than one wound. Because after a wound is taken in Shades of Dominion, the rest of the damage is normally stopped and the player's just and the target's just exhausted. But with cleave, the damage goes through from wound to wound to wound. However, if you kill something with a well, if you kill something and you have cleave and that thing dies and there's still damage left over, you roll again and pass the damage on to the nearest target as long as it's within like 10 feet. So what I'm saying is, this dwarven crossbow is if it kills its target, will auto hit the next living thing. So that's cool. Argus also carries a traditional dwarven warhammer because sometimes he just likes to hit stuff with it. And it's literally just a warhammer. Athletics v acrobatics, opposed test, and deals 2d 3 damage. That's it. It's just a basic bitch warhammer. So, character advancement. Playing as Argus has a few development options. As you adventure, keep a weather eye for anything that can preserve the memory of your clan. This includes runes, artifacts, enchantment arts, spells that they have written, or because what you have to understand about Argus's clan on Valhalla is this clan had traveled to many other worlds and tried to conquer them, tried to raid them, tried to take over. So there's going to be remnants of this clan theoretically anywhere. Anywhere you go, there's going to be um, possibly some battle somewhere, some outpost, some strip bare place where there might be a remnant of his lost clan. Also, obviously, any adventuring you can do to rekindle and magnify your affinity with the Forge. Going to other destruction sources of destruction, like a volcano, anything to increase the power and fire of that soul forge would uh would be pretty cool as an adventure angle. Also, character development is to hunt down any leads to the monsters that destroyed your home. You are going to be gunning for anything that even remotely looks or sounds like a Yaniv. And that's going to be another interesting part of your adventure. So that ends our descriptor of the Destruction Shade Mage. He is Argus, the Dwarf Master, and his PDF is in a link below in the video. Thank you very much. Have some fun and go throw some shade. Bye bye.